We'll leave it to Maxwell Jacob Friedman to make it interesting. It was reported a few days ago, and I've already got a video up. You can click the icon in the upper right-hand corner to watch that video. That it was reported that Maxwell Jacob Friedman had been cast in the Iron Claw as Lance Von Erich. And this was widely reported. Jim Cornette has talked about it. Dave Meltzer has talked about it. It's been talked about on many of the wrestling-based YouTube channels. It's all over Reddit, the Sportster, Wrestling Observer, What Culture, Wrestle Talk, Ringside News. I could go on and on and on. All these sources have talked about MJF playing Lance Von Erich. Well, a couple of days ago, as I make this, in an interview with a Long Island-based daily newspaper called Newsday, MJF refuted that story. And I'm going to get a quote from him here. This is, in an interview with Newsday, Maxwell Jacob Friedman said, "I don't know where that came from because I never confirmed that. People are just guessing. I never said that. I'll just say whatever I end up doing in that movie is incredible because I'm incredible. And my God, the cast is so stacked. Zac Efron is the GOAT, Jeremy Allen White, Lily James, insanely talented people." Now the thing is, I find myself for the first time talking about, is this a work or a shoot? Because he is very much in character during this interview. Even though he does, he goes on, he heaps praise on the cast, he heaps praise on director and screenwriter Sean Durkin. But there are other things that make me think, okay, we're in that modern day. This is just what wrestling is today. Back in the day, back when World Class was big, it was all work. Now to let those of you that might be watching this that aren't that up on the lingo, all of this used to be inside lingo. It wasn't stuff that fans used. It was stuff that the wrestlers used. But when people say work or shoot, work is anything that they do in wrestling that they want to present as real that isn't really. Because I'll give you a really good example of a work and a shoot. David Von Erich and Jim Garvin had a big feud, and it all led to the Valet for a Day match. And then David beat Jim Garvin, and Jim Garvin and Sunshine was his valet at the time. They had to work as a valet for a day for David Von Erich, and he got Jim Garvin and Sunshine out there in her high heels, and they're out there, hauling hay and giving the dog a bath and stuff like that. And that was all work. Jim Garvin and David Von Erich were actually really good friends when the cameras were off. The shoot was when the cameras went off and David started cooking steaks for everybody. This is according to Jim Garvin. Then once they got done filming, David started cooking steaks for everybody, and they sat around drinking beer and eating steaks and just hanging out. That was the shoot. In modern day wrestling, that seems to be, since kayfabe is now gone, and they don't present everything as a legitimate contest and legitimate feuds and all that. They have to walk these fine lines. They have to try and make the fans guess, okay, is this a work or a shoot? Like the thing between Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins. Is it a work or a shoot? Because there was some legitimate conflict between them. It probably wasn't as serious as everybody thinks, but you get people think, oh, well, they really don't like each other. So now when they're feuding, everybody looks at, okay, well, how much of this is real and how much of it is just work? And so I think there's a lot of work here. MJF goes on to say, well, as he's complimenting the director, he says Sean Durkin is incredibly intelligent because he booked me. And in talking about the Von Erichs, he went on, and hold on to your hats for this one. I hope this is a work. He says, I think the number one lesson to be learned is don't be born and raised in Texas. It's a horrible place. If the Von Erichs were a Long Island family, none of this would have went down. That's very much in character. Now, maybe, who knows? I don't know MJF personally. Maybe that's the way he really feels. But it's very much in character for him. Now, I will say this. When it was announced he was going to be in the movie, had everybody saying, okay, he's playing Lance Von Erich. Officially, on the list that was out, much like with Lily James, they still haven't confirmed what role she's going to be playing. They have her listed in the cast, but they don't have what role she's playing. Maxwell Jacob Friedman was the same way. It was his name, but they did not have the character of Lance Von Erich next to his name. They do now. They have changed that in the last couple of days. But at first, they did not have him listed as playing Lance Von Erich. And I'll also mention, Jim Cornette made a really good point. He said when he first heard MJF was going to be in the movie, his first thought was he would play Gino Hernandez. And he would make a really good Gino. So maybe we should put a little pause on that. I don't know. I think this is just MJF being MJF, staying true to his wrestling persona. But then again, maybe, like I say, you look at IMDb, it now has him listed as Lance Von Erich, but IMDb has been known to be wrong at times too, so. But I just thought I would throw that out. Maybe MJF isn't playing Lance Von Erich. Part of me kind of hopes that it's like I say, Jim Cornette makes a very good point. MJF would make a great Gino Hernandez if Gino's going to be that big of a part in the movie. Surely he will be. I know surely Chris Adams, who was outside the ring, really good friends with Kevin, and that was probably, other than the Von Erich Freebird feud, some of the top feuds involving the Von Erichs. Of course, you had Ric Flair in there, but also, mentioned David Von Erich and Jim Garvin. The Kevin Von Erich versus Chris Adams feud went on for a long time. That went on for over a year. And then, of course, the feuding with Gino. Gino was tag team partners with Chris Adams there for a while. Of course, we mentioned Gary Hart. He had been feuding, in the ring feuding with and behind the scenes working with Fritz for, since the 1960s. So you would think these would be people that would play some part in the movie. A lot of people brought up Iceman King Parsons. I don't know if he would play a particularly big part in the movie or not. But that's one thing about this movie. You're going to have to be prepared for the possibility that a lot of people won't be brought up. Anyway, just to give you a quick rundown of who actually is in the movie. Of course, as we know, Zac Efron is playing Kevin Von Erich. Harris Dickinson is playing David Von Erich. Jeremy Allen White is Kerry Von Erich. And I want to pause here for a second, and this is a recent photo of him. He's not going to get to be the size of Kerry, and a lot of people have criticized this, including me. I was very critical of choosing Jeremy Allen White to play Kerry, but you got to give credit where credit's due. The guy's working his butt off, and he's a good actor, so I think it's going to come out fine with that. You also have Stanley Simons playing Mike Von Erich, Holt McElhaney playing Fritz Von Erich, Maura Tierney is Doris Von Erich, Kezzy Louis Sergino is Bruiser Brody, Kevin Anton as Harley Race, and then, as I mentioned, Lily James playing what is up to this point an unnamed part. I've made the assumption that she is playing Kevin Von Erich's wife. I don't know that for sure. Also, Brady Pierce playing Michael Hayes, and then bit parts for Jim Gleason and Julian Dulce Vita. And then somewhere in there is Maxwell Jacob Friedman, either as Lance Von Erich or as something else. Again, feel free to throw out your ideas for fantasy booking if you want, or realistic casting. Still got a lot of people. We still need a Terry Gordy. We still need a Buddy Roberts. I'm sure David Manning is going to be a part of the movie. The character of, I would think Mickey Grant might have something to do with it. He was a huge part behind the scenes with World Class Wrestling. Gary Hart, Ken Mantell. There's still a lot of characters that could be cast. You still have the question of who would play the other wives, who would play Carrie's wife, who would play David's wife. Still a lot of blanks to fill in here. I've got several videos out on this. I've got actually a playlist, an entire playlist. I'll leave a link to that at the end. You can watch the other videos on the Iron Claw movie, or check out one of the other videos on the channel. So again, I'll try to keep coming out with news on the movie as it comes out. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, not necessarily in that order, and I will see you next time.